Every gilded cage is built with walls of comfort. The only question is what you're paying for them.
So you've probably heard the term government shutdown thrown around in the news a ton. It sounds pretty dramatic, right? But what does it actually mean? It can all seem really confusing, but honestly, it boils down to one simple thing: money. So let's dive in and break down exactly what happens when the government's funding just stops. Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get into why a shutdown even happens in the first place. Then, we'll look at the real-world ripple effect, how it actually impacts people. After that, we'll tackle the political standoff heading into 2025. And finally, we'll ask a big question. Are we seeing a whole new playbook for how these shutdowns work? All right, first things first, how does this whole mess get started? Well, the US government can't just spend money whenever it wants. It needs permission from Congress. It's a process that is supposed to happen every single year, and when that process breaks down, everything just grinds to a halt. The easiest way to think about it is like your own household budget. The government is split up into 12 big areas: defense, agriculture, you name it. Each one needs its own spending plan, and that plan is called an appropriations bill. Now, Congress is supposed to pass all 12 of these bills by October 1st. That's the start of the government's financial year. In a perfect world, that's how it works. But, as you can probably guess, getting all those bills passed on time, that almost never happens. So lawmakers have this tool they use called a continuing resolution, or a CR. It's basically like hitting the snooze button on the budget. It keeps the government funded, usually at the same levels as the year before, for a few more weeks or months. It's a stopgap measure to buy more time for negotiations. And that leads us to this very simple 3-step chain reaction. Step 1, Congress blows past that October 1st deadline without passing the budget. Step 2, they can't even agree on that temporary patch, the CR. And when both of those things fail, you get Step 3. The government's legal authority to spend money literally expires. And that's the exact moment a shutdown begins. Okay, so a funding fight in Washington might seem like a distant political problem, but the consequences, they are very, very real. They spread out across the entire country, and they affect pretty much everyone: businesses, regular services, and of course, individuals. Let's take a look at what that actually looks like. To put a number on it, the Congressional Budget Office looked at the 35-day shutdown back in 2018 and 2019. Their estimate? It cost the U.S. economy a staggering $11 billion. That is a massive price tag for political gridlock, and it comes from all sorts of lost productivity and disrupted services. For the business world, a shutdown is like throwing sand in the gears of the economy. The Small Business Administration, it has to stop approving loans. Trying to get a mortgage, that might get delayed because the federal systems that verify income are on hold. And federal contractors, we're talking about companies that do everything from IT support to cleaning federal buildings, they often lose that income for good. And here's a crazy one: even the flow of information stops. Key economic data isn't released, which forces businesses and investors to basically fly blind. And this is where it starts to hit home for a lot of people. The IRS has to scale way back, so good luck getting help during tax season. Our beautiful national parks might close down completely, or worse, stay open without any staff, which is a huge safety issue. And public health takes a direct hit. The National Institutes of Health can't accept new patients for life-saving clinical trials, and even routine food safety inspections get put on pause. And then, of course, there's the direct human cost. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of federal employees and their families. During that last big shutdown, around 800,000 workers were either sent home or had to work without pay. And get this, even essential workers like TSA agents and air traffic controllers, the people we count on to keep us safe, they have to show up to their jobs every day with no idea when they'll see their next paycheck. Now, a law does guarantee they'll get back pay eventually, but, that doesn't help when rent is due or you need to buy groceries. So that's the what. Now let's get into the why of the current situation. The potential 2025 shutdown really revolves around two completely different sets of priorities. You've got each party digging in its heels over what they consider to be a non-negotiable core issue. On one side, you have the Republican position, which is really focused on border security and cutting taxpayer-funded benefits for immigrants who are in the U.S. illegally. Their argument is that they've already passed these reforms and they shouldn't be reversed. On the other side, the Democratic position is centered on healthcare. Specifically, they want to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies that help millions of people with their health insurance premiums. Their argument is that if these subsidies expire, costs are just going to skyrocket for American families. To really get a feel for the Republican framing of this, take a listen to this quote from Speaker Mike Johnson. He's presenting this as a clear choice that Democrats are making, that they're prioritizing funding for non-citizens over keeping the government running for Americans. And here's the counterargument from Senator Chuck Schumer. It clearly illustrates the Democratic position. He frames the shutdown as a Republican choice to let people's healthcare costs go up. So as you can see, both sides are arguing they're fighting for the American people, just through two completely different lenses. But here's the thing. This time, there is a brand new element at play, something that makes this potential 2025 shutdown fundamentally different from the ones we've seen in the past. It's a strategic shift that could have far more permanent consequences than just a temporary pause in government. And this is it. This is the new playbook. The White House's Office of Management and Budget has told federal agencies that they should treat a funding lapse not just as a temporary problem, but as a legal justification to start permanently eliminating federal jobs. This completely changes the game. So let's be super clear about the difference here, because it's huge. A furlough, that's what we're used to. It's basically a temporary unpaid leave. You go home, you don't get paid for a bit, but your job is still there for you when it's all over. A reduction in force, or a RIF, that's a permanent layoff. You're fired. The new strategy is to use a shutdown to trigger these RIFs, turning a temporary political fight into a tool to permanently shrink the government. And this isn't just us saying it's a big deal. As one expert put it, this is completely new territory. It's using voters as pawns in a way we just haven't seen before. It really raises the stakes of the whole thing. So the bottom line is this. We're not just talking about a temporary disruption anymore. The stakes are much, much higher. And it leaves us with a really big question to think about. What does it mean for our whole system of government when a temporary political tactic becomes a tool for permanent, sweeping change?